meditate on Sri Ramakrishna and pray for the well-being of the whole humanity. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Sthapakaya ca dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine Sthapakaya ca dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine Avatar Varishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namah Asato ma sadgamaya Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya Mrityormamritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. We have been discussing since 2 classes the way to peace and bliss, and what Sri Ramakrishna has instructed in order to reach the goal. One is universal law. The whole creation is bound by that law. Any body, any being in this creation is governed by the laws of the universe. And there is grace that is supremely great. Grace can supersede any laws. Grace is supreme. There's nothing higher than grace. But then the choice is there. Whether a person wants to go by universal law or whether he wants to come under the grace of God. It's very important for us to know, particularly those who are trying to live spiritual life. Without grace, you can't do anything. And one can get grace of God. But there is a way to get the grace of God. Even though the grace of God is there, you are not able to recognize it. You are not able to recognize the value of grace because of stupid ignorance, stupid egoism, thinking why God is needed. I am going for the job, so I am getting the money. Why should you want God here? People talk in that way. People talk very arrogantly, but immediately they will come to know it will not work. Probably the arrogance can be compared to a boil. The boil in the beginning is very hard. Even the surgeon also will not operate the boil immediately. He will say, let it ripen a little bit. Let it become a little more old enough so that the skin becomes soft, then it can be easily operated upon. In the same way, the arrogance, when the person is at the height of arrogance, he will not be able to know anything about spiritual ideas. On the other hand, he hates to entertain any spiritual ideas for that matter. He wants nothing of that sort. He is in the world. He is here to enjoy the world. That's the theory. That's the theory projected by all the people in the world, normally speaking. We are here to enjoy. Enjoyment is the goal of life. Let me enjoy when I have got a time. So, they are mad after enjoyment. Mad after so many sensational happenings. Anyway, to sum up, a person who is utterly worldly will not recognize the value of grace. And even though he is suffering from so many difficult situations, yet he may not realize. Just like Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of a camel. It eats thorny bush. Blood is oozing out from the mouth. Still it will not stop eating the thorns. In the same way, though a person is continuously passing through all sorts of sufferings in the world, yet he is not planning to get out of this suffering. On the other hand, he is more and more in the suffering. In. The suffering can be overcome. One can get over the suffering only when a person turns towards God. There should not be absolutely any doubt about that matter. So, you will understand the grace of God only when you accept the presence of God and the play of God in the universe. You must be humble enough to accept this. So the main stumbling block is egoism. As long as you are egoistic, you will not be able to understand the softness of the glory of the grace. Well, then the attainment of grace is possible only if you can cultivate the spirit of self-surrender and accept the Supreme Being as the sole goal, the Supreme Being as the sole refuge, and the Supreme Being as the sole ideal. But God does not play the role of a dictator. He doesn't want to interfere in people's carrying on their activities according to their own whims and fancies. He expects that By exercising your freedom, you will come to sacrifice that freedom when you realize its limitations. You will reach a point where you can't proceed, where you feel utterly disappointed when you experience no more happiness or joy in this world. On the other hand, you are suffering more and more. So when you forego the ego and surrender yourself to Supreme God, then divine grace comes. So, how one can develop the attitude of self-surrender? There's a way. You must know the philosophy properly. Everything must be very clear. You can't simply walk through in ignorance. There is a way, that is, first of all, you must know what exactly duty means. And by performing the duty properly, first thing. Second thing, you have to associate yourself with right type of persons. It's very important. Thirdly, you must read spiritual texts. And you must engage yourself in upasana, that is, in the worship of God. That was our tradition, but nowadays all the traditions have gone by, and so people, though they look outwardly happy, inwardly they are utterly miserable. Every home, the people there, the chief person, the Yajaman, we say, he should perform the worship of God in the home before he starts doing anything. As soon as he wakes up, he must finish his ablutions, then go and offer worship, sit quietly for a few minutes and pray to God, then go and attend to your duties, whatever it may be. So, if you give attention to all these steps which I just now mentioned, then you will slowly develop the spirit of self-surrender. As far as God is concerned, His grace is ready to descend on anyone on this earth. There is no partiality shown. But in spite of the availability of God's grace, why we are not getting it? Because we have not opened the door. The sunlight is there. It is ready to enter your room. But you have not opened the window. Even though the sunlight is there, it cannot come inside because you have closed the window. You have to open it. Sri Ramakrishna says in the Gospel, the breeze of God, God's grace, is constantly blowing. The whole creation is going on account of constantly blowing of God's grace. But then you have to unfurl the sail of the vessel of life to get the benefit of that breeze. Unfurling this sail, that much you have to do. That much you have to do. And to do that, you have been given limited freedom. Lord Christ says, the famous statement, ask and it shall be given to you. You must ask, then it will be given to you. If God is all merciful, why does He expect even this much? Why does He want that I must knock and then the door should be opened? He could easily open the door without waiting for me to knock. Couldn't He do it? The thing is, God knows our limitations. Our greatest limitation is this defiance, this denying Him, this thinking, I am the master. Without God's help, I can get along very well in this world. This spirit of defiance, grace cannot meet. Grace is too tender for that. Grace comes when there is humility, when there is submission. Otherwise what? The law is ready. The law will function. Law? Yes. All the beings are under the law of karma. The doctrine of karma plays a very important role in everyone's life. So in everyday life, you find the same thing. As long as the criminal defends himself and tries to justify his action, he is under law. And the law will take care of him. Grace cannot take care of such a defiant person. But when he gives up this defiant attitude and submits and implores the court's mercy, then the judge will grant him mercy. Similarly, in the divine scheme of things, there is a scope of law and there is a scope of mercy. As long as you hold to your ego, law will take care of you. But when you surrender yourself to the Supreme Lord, then His grace will descend on you. But this self-surrender must be genuine. If we do something good and reap the good results, we think, I have done this, and I am reaping the benefit of my own deeds. But if something goes wrong and we suffer, then we say, oh, why God was so unkind to me. He has made me suffer in this world. Then you finger to the God when the suffering comes. This kind of resignation to God will not do. Then what should be done? Both good and evil have to be surrendered completely. You must surrender to God completely with all your weaknesses and all your excellences. You can't hold back the excellences and present only the weaknesses to God. Whether I am wise or unwise, pure or impure, I surrender myself to Thee completely. We must approach God with all our credentials, with all our weaknesses, with all our excellences. We have to surrender to the Lord. And at once grace will descend upon us. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, a famous verse, Apichet suduracharo bhajate mamananya bhak sadureva samantavyaha samyak vyavadito hi saha kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim negacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Lord Krishna has stated very clearly. He has given hope to anybody. One need not condemn himself as utterly hopeless. Even the most hopeless person in this world has a hope if he turns to God. If he turns to God. Even a sinful person, if he worships God with unswerving devotion, he must be regarded as righteous, for he has performed the right resolution. He soon becomes righteous and attains eternal peace. Proclaim it boldly, O Arjun, that my devotees never perish. So once you try to offer your worship in your humble way, you become a devotee and God will take care of you in every respect. One may ask, how can a sinful person surrender himself to God? Human nature is very intricate. No human mind is absolutely bad. No human mind is absolutely good. A person who is generally very good may have his good tendencies temporarily overpowered by evil tendencies. He will appear to us at times to be a very evil person. But those who can look into the depths of the human mind can see that underneath the weaknesses there are strong points. So we find that many fallen persons have been blessed by the spiritual masters of the world. If you study the life of great masters, you will see there are so many instances how these holy persons go and save them from utter ruination. So, the very fact the spiritual masters go and save them means they have received God's grace. Though appearing to be very sinful, they have developed something within which we ordinarily don't see, but the great spiritual masters can see it. Such a person, because of this inner goodness, is able to surrender himself or herself to God and receive His grace. So, you have to understand this point very clearly. Suppose you study the life of Buddha, we find that a courtesan received his grace. In the life of Lord Jesus Christ, we find that Mary Magdalene received his grace. So also in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, we find many such persons receive his grace. So, a person should not be judged by only his appearance. It is the one important characteristic of great personalities, that they judge others by their strong points, and it is characteristic of the petty-minded to judge others by their weak points. Lord Krishna again teaches in the Gita, Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananyena yogena mam dhyayanta upasate teshamaham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami nachirat partha maya veshita chetasam. Very nice, tremendous, thrilling verses. Lord Krishna says, if a person can surrender himself to Him, he will receive His grace. Those who consecrate all their actions to Him, regarding Him as the supreme goal, and who worship Him, meditate on Him with single-minded concentration. To them whose minds are thus absorbed in Him, in God, verily, God before long saves that person from the ocean of samsara. When a person foregoes the ego and knows the Lord to be the supreme master of everything, and does not expect the results of his own good actions, and performs all actions as an offering to the Lord, he is no longer bound by his own actions. His actions purify him, and he receives God's grace more and more. The attitude is changed. Before also he was doing action. Now also he does action. But now he is doing as an offering to God. Whatever the work he does, everything is done as an offering. It is extremely difficult to cross this world of Maya, the world of relativity, where good and evil coexist. However much we may try to eliminate evil company in the world outside, we can't succeed. Again we find Lord Krishna assuring in the Gita, Daivi Shesha Gunamayi Mamaya Duratyaya Mamevaye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. Verily, the divine Maya of mine, consisting of the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, is hard to overcome. But those who take refuge in me alone shall cross over this Maya. Wholeheartedly, a person has to surrender himself to God. Partial self-surrender will not do. So, one has to prepare oneself. The spiritual life is to be taken with full awareness. With full awareness. And knowing full well every moment of your life is very precious. Whatever last is last. Don't repent over what is gone. At least from now onwards, make use of all the time in a proper way. That is the important teaching which all the masters have said. Use this precious moment of your life. The moment you started hearing spiritual ideas, immediately you start thinking about them. Try to implement them. Try to purify your heart. Preparation is most important. Simply telling, I want to see God in this very life. I want to get the realization quickly. You can't get. Even Sri Ramakrishna, whose body was full of sattva, perfectly pure in body and mind, even he had to do 12 years of sadhana, spiritual practices. It is true he was incarnation of God, but still he did practice to show to the world that everyone will have to do sadhana in order to purify one's heart. In other words, in order to prepare the mind so that God could manifest there. Sri Ramakrishna tells in the Gospel, devotee's heart is God's drawing room. So, your task is how to keep your heart clean, pure. That's very important. If you take that part Meticulously, if you keep yourself pure, then God Himself will come and embrace you. He will give you immense peace and joy. And afterwards, it's a joy to be in this world. It's a joy to be in this world. The very world which was causing you suffering will be now giving you more and more happiness, and you'll be immensely enjoying the peace and bliss. So, spiritual life means it's a life of peace and happiness. Everyone who thinks of God is sure to get that. So let us try to prepare ourselves properly, live the life properly, then you will see everything will come by its own accord. So preparation is very important. If the mind is tremendously restless, and if desires are pulling you in 1,000 directions, and you are constantly under stress and strain, how can you even think of God realization immediately? How can you think of that? So you have to remove all the dust, all the dirt from the mind. You have to make a thorough cleaning of the mind. Millions of births you have passed through, and millions of impressions you have gathered in the mind. What sorts of impressions you have got in the mind, you will be horrified to know. Of course, you have done good samskaras also, are there, because you have done good deeds also. But the opposite deeds are so powerful, or they overpower the good ones. Because the good ones, what you have done, very, very feeble. Very feeble. Whereas the other thing is very high. So the disproportionate. So as long as we are being pulled by mind and the senses, as long as we are fooled, F-O-O-L-E-D, fooled by our mind and senses, we can't expect real happiness, real peace. So you have to awaken yourself. You have to awaken yourself. What is the indication of awakening? The indication of awakening is you must start spiritual practice without delay, with all attention, with all devotion, with complete resignation to God. So, let us try to practice sadhana in this way. I shall continue the same topic next Tuesday also. I shall read some passages from the Gospel, page 658, 659. I said to Harish, this is the whole thing. The gold is hidden under a few basketfuls of earth, and you must remove the earth. The Bhaktas read in eye consciousness, the Gyanis do not. Nangta used to teach how to establish oneself in the two self, saying, merge the mind in the buddhi and the buddhi in the Atman, then you will be established in you, in your true self. But the eye persists. It cannot be got rid of. Imagine a limitless expanse of water, above and below, before and behind, right and left, everywhere there is water. In that water is placed a jar filled with water. There is water inside the jar and the water outside, but the jar is still there. The eye is the jar. Even after attaining knowledge, the Jnani keeps his body as before, but the fire of knowledge burns away his lust and other passions. Many days ago, during an electric storm, a thunderbolt struck the Kali temple. We saw that no injury had been done to the doors. Only the points of the screws were broken. The doors are the body, and the passions, lust and so forth are the screws. A Jnani loves to talk only about God. He feels pained if one talks about worldly things. But a worldly man belongs to a different class. He always has the turban of ignorance on his head. He always comes back to worldly topics. The Vedas speak of the 7 planes of mind. When the Jnani's mind ascends to the 5th plane, he can't listen to anything or talk of anything but God. At that stage only words of wisdom come from his lips. The Vedas speak of Satchidananda Brahman. Brahman is neither 1 nor 2, it is between 1 and 2. It can't be described either as existence or as non-existence. It is between existence and non-existence. When the devotee develops raga bhakti, passionate love of God, he realizes Him. But one loses vaidhi bhakti, formal devotion, as easily as one gains it. This is formal devotion. So much japa, so much meditation, so much sacrifice and homa, so many articles of worship, and the recitation of so many mantras before the deity. Such devotion comes in a moment and goes in a moment. Many people say, well, friend, we have lived on Havishya for so many days. How many times we have worshipped the deity at our home, and what have we achieved? But there is no falling away from raga bhakti. And who gets this passionate love for God? Those who have performed many meritorious deeds in their past births, or those who are eternally perfect? Think of a dilapidated house, for instance. While clearing away the undergrowth and rubbish, one suddenly discovers a fountain fitted with a pipe. It has been covered with earth and bricks, but as soon as they are removed, the water shoots up. Those who have passionate love for God don't say any such thing as, oh brother, how strict I have been about food, but what I have achieved. New farmers give up cultivating if their fields do not yield any crops. But hereditary farmers will continue to cultivate their fields whether they get a crop or not. Their fathers and grandfathers were farmers. They know that they too must accept farming as their means of livelihood. Only those who developed raga bhakti for God may be called His sincere devotees. God becomes responsible for them. If you enter your name in a hospital register, the doctor will not discharge you until you are cured. Those who are held by God have nothing to fear. The son who holds to his father while walking along the narrow ridge of a paddy field may slip if he absent-mindedly lets go his father's hand. But if the father holds the son by the hand, then there is no such danger. We shall stop here. Any questions? You are welcome to ask. Well, we have to develop our spiritual aptitude. That's all I can say. By effort you have to do it. It's very important. The worldly current is so devastating. It's very powerful. And you are under that current. So you must imagine how much effort is required to get out of that current. So constantly you must think of spiritual ideas, constantly. Take any one idea prominently and hold on to it, and accordingly regulate your life. That's very important. Not simply mechanically going, mechanically following the life. He is doing, so I am also doing. Why should we imitate that way? Worldly man, of course, is happy if another man also becomes worldly. And there's tremendous opposition. If anybody wants to go spiritual way, immediately the opposition comes. Oh, why do you want to go? Can you not do meditation in the home itself? Can you not do like this? Can you not do like that? So many ways they talk about. But a person will have to certainly take decision. One has to decide himself or herself. Everyone has to struggle for himself or herself. So, then only you will appreciate, you will understand the supreme importance of instructions, spiritual instructions. See, Ramakrishna is there. All his spiritual treasure is given to us in the form of Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Ocean. Bhagavad Gita. Ocean. And take the bath every day. In the spiritual bath. It's called spiritual bath. If you constantly read Bhagavad Gita, contemplate on the meaning and apply it in the life. That is the way we should do. And by doing that, you will develop love and devotion to God. Once you develop love and devotion to God, then everything is over. Then it's very easy afterwards. Alright, we shall continue next. Enrich yourself. Be firmly established in spiritual ideas. Don't be shaken, and develop your spiritual mind. It's only through spiritual mind you can really become strong. And we shall stop. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean, and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drown deep in the waves of his bliss, tasting his nectar at every step, bathing in his name, that bath for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Ah, how I long for the day when an instant separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stealest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers. May all realize what is good. May all be actuated by noble thoughts. May all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy. May all be free from disease. May all realize what is good. May none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous. May the virtuous reign tranquility. May the tranquil be free from bonds. May the freed make others free. May good betide all people. May the sovereign righteously rule the earth. May all beings ever attain what is good. May all the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time. May the earth be blessed with crops. May all countries be free from calamity. May holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.